Thank you, Dr. Gates, for the introduction, and thank you to the board members for hosting us while we give this presentation of what I think is one of the crown jewels of the partnership between Henry Ford and MSU, and that is the Pancreatic Cancer Research Alliance that has formed between us. And Dr. Klomp is going to take over for me at the end and show exactly where we are with conquering this disease. So why do we focus on pancreatic cancer? The statistics are right before you. It's got a 5-year survival rate of 13% currently. The statistic that brought me into the field is the second one. When you find out that someone has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, they have about 9 to 10 months to live. That statistic has not changed over the past few decades. And of course, when someone is diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, the first message they hear is get your affairs in order. And that's why they need to come to an academic medical center to get second opinions, to be on clinical trials, which is one of the things that we are trying to make sure we have a robust program for. It is the third most common cause of cancer-related deaths in the country. It surpassed breast cancer in 2016. It's second only to lung and colon cancer. It's going to pass colon cancer around 2030. And one statistic that's important for us is that only about 20% of pancreatic cancer patients are eligible to have surgical removal of their cancer. And of those people that have surgical removal, still 80% of those will perish from the disease within 5 years. But it's the only curative procedure that we have at the moment. So our vision for the Pancreatic Cancer Alliance is that we flip this around. Our 10-year goal is to change this from a 20% eligible for surgical resection, for cure, to 80%. And there are many methods that we're going to employ to accomplish this, and I think we're well on our way as a field, a very collaborative national and international field. So this on the top row shows the leadership at Henry Ford that is leading this. I am the scientific director of this group. I've recruited several young faculty members. You see the first 4 down there that collectively look at all aspects of this disease. And I was really thrilled when Michigan State recruited Jenny and Jeff Klomp. The last name's not a coincidence, they are married, that are absolutely at the forefront of conquering this disease. So our progress, just to summarize right here in the slide, since I started, we have gathered about $16 million of funding coming from the National Institutes of Health, from various organizations dedicated to pancreatic cancer research, such as Lustgarten Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, locally, the Sky Foundation in Detroit, and we are a National Center of Excellence designated by the National Pancreatic Foundation. So to get into the science just very briefly, this is a word cloud. This is a word cloud generated by a researcher who sequenced a bunch of different pancreatic cancers from patients. And you see the largest words in the word cloud are the mutations that occurred most frequently in those patients. So the biggest word you see there is called KRAS. KRAS is an oncogene, a tumor promoting gene. It is the initiator of pancreatic cancer. It is mutated in many other different types of cancers, but it is the prime mutation in pancreatic cancer. Several years ago, as part of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, I'm on the Scientific Medical Advisory Board of this group, they decided that in 2007, we were going to go to the Hill every single year and advocate Congress to give more funding to pancreatic cancer, which was severely underfunded at the time. And in their infinite wisdom, the Congress decided that we wouldn't really focus exactly on pancreatic cancer. We'd expand it to cancers that had less than a 50% 5-year survival rate. And the top 2 there were lung cancer and pancreatic cancer. And this is called the Recalcitrant Cancer Act. So this is an indication of how public advocacy and working with the government can actually fund our laboratories working on this disease. And this initiative started a subset, a RAS initiative. So KRAS is a member of this RAS family. So by targeting these RAS oncogenes, we could probably conquer both pancreatic cancer, and it's also very frequently mutated in lung cancer. So the RAS initiative was funding research to try to find inhibitors for this RAS oncogene. But when I was young, it did happen, that we always considered the RAS oncogenes completely undruggable. We called it the greasy ball. You couldn't attach a drug anywhere to it. But since the NCI RAS initiative was created, the statement I heard at a meeting just in September as one of the premier oncologists in this field, the quotes right there. My slide is not large enough to list all of the drugs in the clinic right now that target RAS. And we're very fortunate now to have recruited somebody that's at the forefront of looking at, don't laugh, it's true, at the forefront of conquering this oncogene and therefore this cancer. So I'm going to introduce you here to Jenny.
Thank you. So how do pancreatic cancers form? Initially, there's a founder cell, and in this case, it has a KRAS mutation. The cell starts dividing rapidly. It acquires new mutations, and eventually you get this very diverse tumor that has all sorts of cancer cells in it with different mutations in them. So the RAS inhibitor comes in, it hits most of the mutations, cancer cells, but it only shrinks the tumor in most cases. And the RAS inhibitor has been shown to be very effective at shrinking the tumor. So this opens our first therapeutic option, which is now these patients might be eligible for surgery. Unfortunately, if you don't kill all the cancer cells, the process starts again and the tumor relapses. And that ultimately leads to metastasis and tumor cells going to other organs and doing the same process over and over again. Unfortunately, RAS inhibitors are not a magic pill. They're not completely curative. Cancer cells are tricky. Pancreatic cancer is no exception. They find ways to activate signaling pathways and proteins downstream. And when we started looking at this during my postdoctoral fellowship at University of North Carolina at the Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center, we noticed that there were two pathways that were frequently being activated in patients that had refractory tumors following RAS inhibitor treatment. So in collaboration with several others at UNC, we worked on trying to figure out which of these two pathways was critical in driving the reoccurrence of cancer. And what we found is for KRAS cancers, it's almost always a protein called ERK. And we figured out that you can't target ERK. Unfortunately, ERK inhibitors are too toxic. So we are now working really hard to try to find ways to target ERK indirectly. So looking at new drug combinations to block it as a resistance mechanism. Our research actually got quite a bit of attention, which was very exciting. The NIH director wrote about it in her blog, and it even showed up in the summary of it in the New England Journal of Medicine, actually written by a Michigan State alumni, Dr. Pirolito. So now my husband Jeff and I are both tenure-track professors in the Department of Medicine at Michigan State University, and our research is really focused on trying to identify ways to make it so that ERK is no longer the Achilles heel of RAS inhibitors, finding ways to better understand how ERK signals and drives resistance, and find ways to target it indirectly. A big reason of why we came here was that we knew we were joining a community. We knew from our time at UNC that our research had only been successful because it was team science. It was lots of different individuals coming together with different ideas, different skill sets, and working together for one common cause. So we're very excited to be here. What is the driver for us? Well, when Howard started studying pancreatic cancer, the survival rate was less than 5% for 5 years.
You're welcome.
When I started, it was less than 10%. Right now, it's at 13%. And the goal is that using RAS inhibitors and identifying new drug combinations and maybe making more patients eligible for surgery with the RAS inhibitors initially shrinking the tumor, we can increase the survivorship. I think many of us have been to some sort of 5K cancer advocacy event. And one of the most touching things at the beginning is when they honor all of the survivors. I'd gone to many for breast cancer and bladder cancer and other cancer types. But the first time I went to one for pancreatic cancer, I lost it. There were so few people wearing these survivor shirts. And then we went back the next year, and they were different people and not the same people, and still so few. So that's what our overall goal is. And that's what we're excited about this partnership enabling us to do. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
I just wanted to say thank you. This is very important work. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have known people that have passed away from pancreatic cancer. As a child, my pastor, it was one of those very rapid ones where as soon as he found out, we didn't. And my friend Sarah just lost her mom on the 25th of January from pancreatic cancer. So thank you for everything you guys are doing. This is a really important work that you're doing. So
Thank you, and we're sorry.
We're very sorry. Thank you.
I have a question for you. Recently, I saw something on the news, I think it was like a CBS Sunday Morning piece, where they were talking about using AI to sequence and map the proteins. Like, that we're on the verge of this, like, because mapping maybe those inhibitors is so difficult, that there's a way to leverage AI to speed up the process, like tenfold or 50-fold. Is that something that is in the hopper for your field that's going to be better for us in finding more
That's
inhibitors?
correct. But her husband would be perfect. for
Yeah,
this.
so this is a much more computational based question. So my number one collaborator, who I happen to be married to, he's a computational biologist, so we have really nice skill sets, and he's already started looking at down some of these avenues. I think that it is important, but AI only takes you so far. You have to go in the lab, you have to use models, and you have to really prove and really dissect it in a more natural setting.
But they're an important part of our team, that we have to have somebody to tell us where the roadblocks are on the computational side so that we can go back into the lab and find the answers for them and so that we can keep this process moving.
You talked earlier about the diverse tumor that sets in early, and how does that impact the ability to have clinical trials with this type of a cancer and the various drugs that are being used?
The hardest thing about pancreatic cancer clinical trials is it's not the most common cancer. It's only 9th or 10th most common cancer. It's just it's one of the most deadly. So finding patients to enroll within clinical trials is very difficult. And then of course there's competition within groups to try to recruit them. So it can be very difficult. And was mentioned with Dr. Gage's introduction that there's also a racial disparities angle in this. African Americans are 20% more likely to get pancreatic cancer, and trying to get those patients to enroll in clinical trials is an additional challenge. But fortunately in Detroit, I'm very proud to represent that community. And so collectively, all of us are looking at the racial disparities for that so that we can translate those findings into the clinic and then into clinical trials.
It's interesting because I think on paper, it looks like such an easy cancer to treat because it has one driver mutation. But unfortunately, there's a lot of other mutations that acquire in combination with it. And some of those are mutations then get selected for when you treat the tumor. And that's how the tumor relapses.
We call it whack-a-mole. You hit one thing, it pops up in another. You have to hit that. It pops up in another.
Thank you, Dr. Klomp, just for your passion specifically, right? To do this work, but also to feel this work is the most important. And that's what I always wanted in a practitioner and a scientist. So I appreciate that. Dr. Crawford, I was going to raise the fact that Henry Ford Health is in Detroit, doing good work in Detroit, and you named it and named racial disparity as one of the biggest challenges that we have in health overall, and that Detroit is the epicenter, a nice place, the perfect place to do this work, to kind of tackle some of the inequities that we're seeing in health. And so I'm just really grateful to both of you. Continue the good work. If I can be of any help, please let me know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And yes, we do take it very personally. We're happy to have the biggest party ever for the one person, whoever it is, doesn't have to be us, who cures pancreatic cancer. We're all going to celebrate. We'll be happy to be out of a job. That's great.